So what is economic development? I checked in with my new assistant, ChatGPT, and they wrote that economic development is sustained long-term improvement in the economic well-being of a society. It involves increasing the productivity, efficiency, and competitiveness of the economy, as well as improving the standard of living and quality of life of its citizens. The point is, and I think most of you know this, is that economic development means a lot more than just dollars and cents. And so with that frame of mind, we have a wide range of topics to touch on today. And after each speaker, we will try to allow for questions. But we're also going to try our best to stay on track. So if we don't get to your question, we'll connect you with that speaker so that we can get an answer for you. And it's my pleasure to introduce Krista Peterson, who's the chair for the Phoenix Urban Renewal Agency.
Hello and welcome. I am Krista Peterson. I am on the City Council. I am also the chair of FIRA. And it's wonderful to see everybody here participating in Phoenix growth. And if you guys have any questions for me, I will be here and just look me up. Thank you very much.
We also want to thank Marta from Business Oregon, and I'm thrilled to invite Marta up to discuss what Business Oregon is about.
Thank you, Will, and thank you everybody for being here today. This is my second time attending this event, and I appreciated Will's crew and the City of Phoenix bringing a lot of folks together for this conversation last year as well. We're the state's economic development agency. We're funded by tax dollars, lottery dollars. We get a lot of federal funding. I want to give a shout out to the City of Phoenix because without the partnership with the City of Phoenix, we would not have been able to deploy the resources we have for emergency response as well as infrastructure need funding. The City of Phoenix has been a fantastic partner for everything from water conversations to fire recovery conversations that involved FEMA. And there are so many amazing partners in the room today. We have SoReady, we have the Talent Business Alliance, and so many awesome businesses too. We do a whole lot of things. We have a broadband office with whom we had meetings in Grants Pass today. My colleague is running behind, but he'll be here to talk with you during the break. Oh, he's right there. Seth Thompson, would you please just wait? If you have concerns about rural or not rural connectivity and broadband access in the region, make sure to give Seth your information because we will be hosting a listening session here in the region, hopefully in the next month or two, to talk about specifically that. And he needs to hear from you today to make sure you're on the list for the listening session next time. And we'll also ask our partners in the chamber to share that information. So we do a lot with infrastructure, we do a lot with business support. We have a whole bunch of revolving loan funds for businesses. Sometimes we have grants, but very, very rarely. And I want to give a shout out to the Small Business Development Center. We have a special services contract with them, and throughout the pandemic, the SOU, SBDC, and the Business Oregon team here, we put on over 25 or 35 webinars. I know we're way into the double digits for businesses, and the topics ranged from accessing regular business resources out there through the SBA, as well as resources that only become available once a disaster strikes. I'm excited to be here today. There are amazing businesses that are sharing their time and insights with us. It's been exciting following the coalition building that Will's team has been doing here. And I rafted with Indigo Creek Outfitters, and that was definitely one of the best days of my life. I come here for board meetings. I'm on the board of the Firebrand Resilience Collective. I come here for great pizza at Clyde's. I thank Phoenix for being such a gem in the Rogue Valley. I live in Medford, and I think of Phoenix as my neighbor community. Rural distressed counties like Jackson County, it's classified as such, is a focus for Business Oregon and a lot of other state agencies. We have a whole bunch of folks, I don't know how many times I can say that in my 5 minutes, that are here to support you. I can connect businesses and communities to ODOT, Department of Land Conservation and Development, Oregon Housing and Community Services. I am your way to connect with maybe agencies that are seen as regulatory, but at the end of the day, they're here to support you. So, Business Oregon, that is a fancy name. That's our doing business as registered name for the Oregon Business Development Department. That does not roll off the tongue easily. I've been with the agency for 10 years. I've done some statewide work for my first 3 years with Business Oregon, and I chose Southern Oregon as my workplace when an opportunity became available in 2017. I thank you all for being here.
And I'd like to introduce Marshall Doak from Small Business Development Center.
So I've been introduced, so I'll continue on that we are here to help businesses in a little bit different manner in the way that we work with economic development. And we work internally in the business to help businesses start, to survive, and hopefully to thrive, helping with the different mechanics of the businesses, whether it is outreach to clients and customers, locally, regionally, nationally, throughout the world, whether it is preparing to go for funding, for capital, helping you prepare yourself as a business person to speak to your banker so that you have credibility and elevate your opportunity and possibilities for obtaining the funding that you're after so you can expand. The net result is that when businesses are solid in a community, then wonderfully enough, they're great tax-paying entities, and those taxes go and the donations go to community development and building the communities. It maintains elevated property values, which is security for all of us. And so our little part is to help businesses remain alive and kicking and have the processes so that not only they thrive and provide stable income for citizens of the region, but also are able to be transferred on the far end because they have value, they retain value, they create value, and they're attractive targets for purchasing so that when an entrepreneur wants to retire, they don't just have to fold up and we start the whole process over again with new people trying to build capital and equity, that these businesses survive and the town remains healthy. So I brought a lot of material for you. We have partners throughout this room, throughout the region, throughout the state. I can't think of another organization that has actively tried to partner more than the Small Business Development Centers. And we are a product of the Small Business Administration, the state of Oregon, and in our case, Southern Oregon University, that pays the freight so that we can work one-on-one with businesses in a confidential setting so that problems can be identified and dealt with on an individual basis. And so it's customized work. And those services are not charged to the business that we're working with. They're charged to our patrons and our people that support us. So with that, thank you very much for the plug, Marta. We had a wonderful response to COVID and to the immediate need that was presented us, and developed a really innovative way of dealing with that, and really glad to be able to look back on that. First of all, is that we're not working quite as hard, and secondly, that there are so many businesses that are alive today that would not have been had we not all been partnering together and working together, presenting together, and reinforcing each other behind the scenes in order to make things work. So with that, I will leave you. We have all kinds of Chotsky in the back and contact information. Please feel free to give us a call.
So we're going to start out today's presentation by having you all imagine a lovely little travel spot. Maybe it has a funky pizza joint down the street, a cheese shop, a cute coffee stand, or a family-owned ice cream shop. As you're picturing this, it sounds like something you'd see in a larger town, but this is all, as we know, right here in Phoenix, our humble little town of 4,300 people, which we like to call the heart and soul of the Rogue Valley. So travel and tourism isn't just something you find in larger cities like Medford or Ashland or Portland. It's just as important right here in Phoenix. And our mission here at Travel Phoenix is to strengthen our community by supporting the sustainability of small businesses, success in Phoenix, Oregon, and the immediate surrounding area. So we know that tourism is important because it provides a steady stream of potential customers and income to your local businesses that you then provide a service or experience to that keeps them coming back month after month and year after year. And next month, during May 7th through 13th, is actually National Tourism and Travel Week, which is when the entire industry celebrates the importance of what it does. And as we know, travel and tourism fuels many other industries, everything from new growth in businesses to education to advanced manufacturing. It keeps our economies moving forward, even here in Phoenix. So in February, the City of Phoenix recognized Travel Phoenix, Oregon as its own destination marketing organization, which we often refer to as a DMO. The recognition builds on Travel Phoenix's ability to expand on projects that will benefit businesses, residents, and visitors to the area. So a DMO promotes a location as an attractive travel destination, and they primarily exist to provide information to incoming leisure travelers. Travel Phoenix does this by publishing our annual visitors guide and then the articles that Will referred to earlier. These promote awareness about your businesses and the people here. So because we want to tell the story about Phoenix to people that might not know what's here, whether they're coming from out of state or just down the road. But we also want to define how that's different from the new Chamber of Commerce. We define a chamber helps to further the interests of small businesses, and their activities range from hosting events to lobbying local representatives or even spearheading charitable works to improve the community. And our new mission for the new Phoenix Chamber of Commerce is to support small business and community building in and around Phoenix, Oregon. So basically, Travel Phoenix is the marketing arm of the town and markets it to local visitors, or to locals, to visitors, and to other people to get them to come here and support your businesses. And while Travel Phoenix focuses on the marketing, the Phoenix, Oregon Chamber of Commerce represents the business community through promotion, networking, and referral opportunities, and being a voice in your local government. So like any DMO, Travel Phoenix too, we're working on discovering and marketing to our target audience. At this time, we tend to see Phoenix as a day trip destination. So this means we know that people from California or Washington aren't realistically planning trips to Phoenix, but they're coming to Medford and they're coming to Ashland, and they'll usually stay multiple days. And when that's the case, we want to encourage them to set aside an afternoon or even a whole day out of their vacation and come here, explore your businesses and get to know you, and hopefully have them come back the next time they're in the area. And on the flip side, we also encourage other people here in Southern Oregon to come and visit Phoenix, because they often don't. Even myself, before I started working with Travel Phoenix, Oregon, I didn't come to Phoenix, I didn't know anything about it, honestly. But the more work I've done, I've gotten to know many of you in this room and your businesses, and I've really learned how special the area is. So Travel Phoenix is working to showcase our local businesses so people come to Phoenix and interact with you, your businesses, and that helps the local economy grow. And as we market Phoenix, some of our goals include encouraging locals to come and explore the city, to promote it to travelers that are coming to Ashland or Medford, to have people visit Phoenix as part of their overall vacations, and then to share stories about Phoenix businesses through the articles that I write. So as Travel Phoenix is working towards its 2023 goals, we want to engage with all of you. That's very important to us moving forward, because we need your thoughts and ideas on how to engage with Travel Phoenix or new projects that we could tackle. So I really encourage you all to reach out to Will, to myself, because we want to know what's important for you and what's going to help you and your businesses grow and want to stay here. And currently, one way that we market Phoenix is through writing articles and publishing those about your local businesses. So when I do that, there are certain things I like to look for in potential articles, and I will usually interview you and I'll ask about your background. It's both personal and professional, obviously what you do, the unique services or skills that you offer, but the most important thing in my point of view is your why for your business. It's like, why do you get up every morning, go to your job, work with the community, help others Why do you do what you do? That's what people love to know about businesses and the people who are running them. So these articles, they tend to have numerous benefits. Obviously, they promote your business, increase visibility about it, and it really fosters more connection within the overall community. And when I'm writing a story, is a formula I like to follow. So generally, I'll reach out to you and we'll have an interview over the phone. Keep things simple, keep it casual, and we mostly like to get professional photos done of you at your business if possible to accompany the article and then use in other content. If that's not feasible, usually I'll ask and we'll take from your social media pages as well. And once the article is done, it'll go on Travel Phoenix's website, the social media pages, and in the e-newsletter that goes out every month. And then from there, we like to use the new content in the upcoming visitor's guide. And there are a few new things that we're working on, one of which is collecting data about our visitors and their trends to see why they're coming here, and then to see if there's any holes in that visitor experience that we could be working to fix. You know, this could even include looking at new tools to help us define who Phoenix's visitors and target audience are. But we need your input too, as I said earlier. No one knows your customers better than you guys. So if you let us know who those people are, why they're here in Phoenix, what brought them here, what they like about it, that's all vital information for us moving forward. And then another new item on the agenda is obviously the creation of the Phoenix, Oregon Chamber of Commerce. So we are hoping that the combined efforts of Travel Phoenix, Oregon and the Chamber will help to really boost and uplift all the businesses here and the economy. So as I mentioned, Travel Phoenix, Oregon has big plans for 2023 and the years beyond. We hope to accomplish many things just this year, including publishing about 20 articles, 12 e-newsletters, photographing several of your businesses, publishing our next visitor's guide, and then continuing to collaborate with our local, state, and regional partners. Thank you.
So yes, I'm Daniel with Book Stay Hop Vacation Reservation Management. A little bit about me. I've had a 25-year career in hospitality, mostly with Ritz-Carlton, and I founded Book Stay Hop Vacation Reservation Management in 2016 here in Southern Oregon. We pride ourselves on being the top-ranked online travel agency in the Pacific Northwest. And a quick side note about Phoenix and why Phoenix is so important to me. 30 years ago today, I bought my first home here in Phoenix. It was on the corner of Church and 3rd. That's when $55,000 would get you a home. And the day after I bought my home, my stove went out, and my neighbors fed me, because I was 25 years old and had no money, fed me for months until I was able to afford to buy a stove again. So Phoenix will always have a very special place in my heart. So a little bit about us as far as Book Stay Hop. We think of us like a travel agency. So we represent homes, vacation homes in Ashland, Talent, Jacksonville, Central Point, Gold Hill, Grants Pass, Cave Junction, Fort Klamath, and the Oregon coast. Also boutique inns and hotels. So we're responsible for reservations for places you've heard of, like the Peerless, Red Tail Inn, and most recently, of course, in the news, the Jacksonville Inn. Wineries, we represent Pascal Winery, Relic Winery, Bridgeview Winery, and Hummingbird. So a lot of different pieces to our portfolio. And the next slide is why this becomes important. So when guests spend, on average, when guests spend in accommodations, and for us, about $1,000, so if they spend $265 a night plus cleaning fees and taxes, about $1,000, they'll spend about another $2,000 in food, beverage, shopping, excursions, Indigo Creek, et cetera, et cetera. And so that $1,000 booking really becomes $3,000. And so it's important in these small local communities to look at that option of welcoming in boutique motels and boutique inns and vacation rentals, because it can mean quite a bit to the bottom line of tourism in our local areas. Next slide. So this is just kind of a quick breakdown to show you what I mean by that. And I'm using Talent because it's probably our closest representation of that. The $10,500,000 that was generated in stays through Book Stay Hop last year, about 7.5% of that was in Talent. If we do the math on that, that equates to about $800,000 that came into Talent for people that went to restaurants there and spent money at the farmer's market and attended Camelot Theater. This year it's predicted to be 1.2 million. And again, that's a combination of boutique inns and hotels and also vacation rentals. Next slide, please. So this is booking trends, and these are not book stay hot booking trends. This is what we're seeing in Southern Oregon right now. Our data will sometimes look a little bit different than other people's data. The reason is we use what's called scrape data. In vacation homes, owners often stay in their properties for part of the year. They'll block that property and it shows as a stay. And so it kind of skews what people are looking at as far as the overall time that property is occupied. So if somebody were to block their property for 6 months because they're staying at it, it would show as occupied as 6 months and it would show off the demographics or skew the demographics. So we use scrape data, which removes that part of it to show what things look like a little bit more truly. You can see right now that this year is showing just slightly below, but we're in an active year. So this line is representative of where reservations are right now, but not possibly true as to where the year will end up. So, but you can see that the path, pandemic, no pandemic, kind of travels the same course. But that being said, growth is still growth. So it continues in vacation rentals to continue to keep growing. When we started our company, we brought a little over $4 million into the Rogue Valley. It continues every year. This year we expect to bring about $12 million into the valley. And again, that's that combination of not just accommodations, but the people that are shopping, retail, excursions, food, wine, everything else. It's definitely a growing segment of the industry. It often comes up, who are the clients that own vacation homes or own these boutique hotels? Is it investors? It's absolutely investors. About a third of our portfolio is mostly from Southern California, and they come up here and they buy properties specifically for that reason. But that's 1/3. The other third are people that live here locally that have retired, or maybe somebody has passed away in their family and they have a guest house, or they have some other property that they want to use for additional income to make ends meet. A number of our people that own properties here are retired school teachers, nurses. We have 5 retired firefighters that own properties here locally. So it's not just people from coming out of the area that are purchasing properties and turning them into vacation rentals. I always like to say there's room for all. Should everything be a vacation rental? Of course not. But there should be a nice mix of everything, as well as boutique inns and hotels. The last thing I like to leave everybody with, and this is what I usually do in city council meetings, is in the history of our company, we've had 40,000 reservations in over 7 years, 2 police reports and 40,000 reservations. So I always end it with, we are not Fort Lauderdale. People are not coming for those reasons. Vacation rentals aren't spoiled. They're managed locally, and most of our owners live here locally as well and want it to be a positive experience for everybody, for neighbors and for themselves. And that's a little bit about Book Stay Hop. So thank you all so much for having me here today.
All right, for our next segment, we're going to do a business panel, and it's going to be led by Marta of Business Oregon.
With this, I'm going to ask Henry to introduce himself, and just, please pass the mic. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Henry Sislow, the owner of Leave Your Mark Landscape Supplies on South Pacific Highway. I've been involved with the business for 18 years since I was a kid, and I recently took over after the fire.
Bonjour, I'm Melody Picard, the owner of the Oregon Cheesesteak. I am over there, along the way. I've opened my shop for 4.5 years now. 6 months ago, I moved into a bigger location next door, still in Phoenix, and I sell cheese.
Hello, my name is Courtney Zucchini. My husband Skyler, who's in the back, and myself own the Farmers Insurance Agency that is here right in Phoenix, over by Ray's Grocery.
Hi, my name is Chris Brown. I work for Umpqua Bank. I went to high school here in Phoenix, and I've been in banking locally for 27 years. I've worked at Umpqua Bank for the last 9 years. Our previous location burned down in the Almeda Fire, and so we recently opened our new location on January 23rd.
My name is Rafael Gonzalez. My wife Janai and I own Clyde's Corner over at Phoenix Industrial Studios. We were both born and raised in the Rogue Valley. We were gone for 10 years for school and lived in other places, traveling, and then moved back 4 years ago to open up Clyde's Corner. And Clyde is our dog, by the way.
And since we have more time, I'm going to ask every business to answer the next question. That is, if you have an answer prepared or else. Since we have such a diversity of industries, we have hospitality represented, we have the retail/crucial support industry for building and landscaping, professional services and financial services represented. Would you please share with our audience and your peers today, what is the business climate like for you in 2023? We hear a lot of things. In the media, we know inflation is a big factor. We know other things may be a factor, but tell us what it's like for you in 2023 to be running a business.
So far last year this time, we obviously had a lot of really nice weather, January, February, March. I was very concerned with all the rain this year. We're still up about 7% sales in comparison. So that obviously feels good that people are coming to us. I think obviously more people are coming from outside of Phoenix and around. So business itself, has been overall trending up still.
Being in the financial service industry, we're kind of in a unique time. I'm sure everybody's aware, prime rate is as high as it's been in over 20 years, and so that presents a challenge for me because interest rates in general, lending and things are relatively high now. Our focus has kind of been to just work with our customers, show them kind of alternatives to maybe some of their higher rate debt and things like that. It makes it a little more challenging when, like I said, when interest rates and inflation are high. But we're trying to come up with kind of some unique ways to navigate them through that.
In the insurance industry, obviously, because of inflation, cost of construction, cost of goods, and labor, as well as obviously Oregon continues to have historic rates of wildfires. Insurance, most carriers are taking historic rate increases for the state, so that's obviously not a great conversation to have with current clients. It also makes us a bit less competitive when we're quoting new business, so it's a very challenging time. We've only owned our business since 2019, so we've gone through the pandemic and the fire and then now very large rate increases, so we certainly feel like we can make it through anything after all this.
So I'm in the retail food business, and this year is looking a little different because I have a bigger location, so that I am offering more, which was what I needed to do when I considered doing that a year ago. And I joked that it was go big or go home, but it was a very strong reality, especially when I just did my taxes and then inflation started really hitting last spring, and numbers, my sales went down. I have made less money last year than I did the year before. I'm back to the hustle of trying to grab customers wherever I can. I could use more business, but I think the main reality right now is that people are broke and they're picking their battles. So they always come shopping around for what's cheaper. They're not necessarily aware that for what I do, I'm pretty affordable. I see a lot of people coming once in a while. More returning customers are nice. But overall, so far, it is looking pretty promising. So, especially with the weather coming in, and just more awareness about Phoenix is very welcome.
I'm in home improvement, supplying building materials. And the third and fourth quarter of last year, we saw the residential real estate market drop about 12%. So if trends continue, it could drop another 12% throughout this year. So the beginning of January 2024 could be a 25% decrease from the beginning of January 2022. So we're just reducing our budget and preparing for not as much business. However, we haven't even seen 1/3 of the homes that burned down in the Almeda Fire finish their landscaping. So that gives me hope that there's still going to be some activity getting the final touches made on those homes.
Thank you. I really appreciate that a couple of you touched on the future outlook as well. So we already are in April, and you already have to start thinking about what 2024 may look like. Now, looking back over the last couple of years, and feel free to put any sort of a touch on it, success story, collaboration story, mutual aid story. Just looking back, would you please tell us what resources or partnerships helped you the most in the last couple? And it could be anything from a neighbor lending supplies to somebody helping a business deal happen. Can you please just share us how you make really cool stuff happen for your business and who helps you?
I'm really grateful for all of my customers. They have shown me so much support. There would be no way I could revive this business without these great customers.
As far as same thing, customers, local people. People always asking me why I'm not in Ashland with all the tourists, and I'm like, people don't have money for cheese because it's perishable, and they can't take it back to their hotel room. The rest of the valley doesn't really shop in Ashland, but so here, being in the heart and soul of the valley, being centrally located, that's really helpful. Try to have more people come in, like just local people. And as far as business partnership, it's been huge. Collaborating with local businesses, like the ones that buy cheese for their cheese plates in their restaurants, or the wineries. I don't have a whole lot of business partnership, but this has literally kept me alive. And then people that go there, and then they have that, and then they come by the shop. And I did a pairing at the Rogue Valley Manor, and then I had a few folks that just came back. Like all of that really works out. And then Travel Phoenix has been very helpful as far as social media awareness. What to Do in Southern Oregon is a huge partnership for me as well. The algorithm of social media is tricky. If you don't pay, you don't get seen. I don't have a budget to pay. I have a pretty decent algorithm, but sometimes you have to have the mental fortitude to post, which is not always there. But so everything works. It's not one magic thing. It's word of mouth. It's people like driving by and seeing the sign. But I strive to only work with local, like a local print shop and local things. So the more we are there for each other, the more helpful it is.
Insurance is a very relational business. Usually people want to know, like, and trust the person that they are going to use for their insurance, especially if they're actually coming to, an in-person agency versus just trying to get insurance online. So partnerships that have worked well for us have been some networking groups that we've been in and the chamber. That's why we were so excited to jump on board with the Phoenix Chamber of Commerce, and we saw that coming back to life, because those relationships, and I don't even know most of the people in this room, so the opportunity to know more people that are right here is just paramount for us.
So my situation's a little different. So obviously our branch burned down, so we haven't had a physical presence in Phoenix for, it was over 2 years. While I had employees that were kind of farmed out to other branches, I was kind of on my own. And so I tried to spend that time still keeping a connection to the city. I'll say we worked closely with the city of Phoenix as we were preparing to build our location. A big partner of mine internally with Umpqua Bank was our Umpqua Bank Foundation. They were able to provide pretty good sums of money that we were able to give back to some local nonprofits and for some worthwhile causes like the rebuilding of Blue Heron Park and things like that. So I kind of these last couple of years, I just kind of tried to do as best I could to still keep the Umpqua Bank name kind of relevant in Phoenix and talent, since we didn't have a physical presence to do so. And that's, you know, kind of how we did that. And then, you know, and thankfully now we're back to where we do have a physical presence.
I kind of will agree with many of what other people said, is that customers as well as our staff has really made, you know, us the best partnership of people coming in, repeat customers, and then we do have amazing staff over at Clyde's Corner, so that for me has been the best partnership we could have, is just really the community there. You know, also kind of touching back on the question before of, you know, we've had issues with inflation, obviously, as everyone has. Romaine went up 400% over the winter, and half of it sometimes we were throwing out, so we swapped over to kale. And did, you know, kale Caesar salads and whatnot. I was worried about kind of blowback on that because people want romaine, Caesar salad, whatever, but just people's understanding of being open of, hey, like, this is the situation. So I just say that kind of communication and clarity with both, you know, staff and community has been the best partnership we've had. And then as well as, you know, word of mouth and social media. Social media has been absolutely huge for us. And, you know, we work with Moxley Media in Medford for all of our hats and sweatshirts and things like that. So just those type of partnerships of giving each other shout outs in other places and whatnot has been kind of crucial in building our business and awareness of that we are here in the Rogue Valley.
I'm going to jump on that. I just came from a meeting in Grants Pass, and my 8 a.m. meeting, there was a little round table sharing moment, and I only had one thing to share, and that is that one of the breweries in Grants Pass recently won a bronze medal for one of their brews at the Oregon Beer Fest, and I compared that community to Bend, and I said, I'm not saying Bend does everything perfectly, but they know how to give each other shout-outs and do that social media cross-promotion, whether it's for somebody in your neighborhood, maybe somebody not even in your industry, but you were there, and you know they recently won a prize, you know they recently were featured in an awesome article by Rebecca Scott. Posting it, it does take mental fortitude. It will take 5 minutes away from maybe some customer FaceTime, but that's something Central Oregon does really well, and I'm just getting the Grants Pass crew to think that way as well, because a bronze medal in Bend, they'd be shouting about it from the rooftops, right? Even if it was somebody who's just a runner-up in the contest, which is still super valid. And I've appreciated following all of y'all's social media. I've been doing it for a couple of years now, so I'm really glad we're having this conversation. Some communities that may be bigger are still behind on that emphasis on cross-promotion and finding the time in your day and staying relevant even when there are challenges to the physical constraints of our brick and mortar locations and as we rebuild. Now, the next question, I have my own biases, that's why I kept it as neutral as possible. I'm very involved with the Rogue Reimagined effort here that the long-term recovery group is working on. So I tried to make the question as neutral as possible, but I ask you to bring however much of your story you want to into it. Would you please share your thoughts on the challenges and successes of the recovery from the 2020 fires, knowing the recovery is still ongoing? Whoever wants to go first.
I think Community and New Beginnings is an amazing success that's come from the fires. As horrible as it was and has been, we've been there for each other, which has built a community far stronger and less divided than before the fire. I do remember the morning after the fire, taking a break and letting everything kind of sink in for the first time. I was out front of our restaurant, exhausted by adrenaline, and my adrenaline finally dying down. Looking around, smoldering buildings around us, the Phoenix Industrial Studios complex luckily still standing. I felt fortunate, but honestly, I remember thinking to myself that I doubt our restaurant will survive. That was 3 weeks after we opened, and I remember just looking around, like, well, we'll have some construction workers, and that's about it probably for the next 5 years. I was completely wrong, and I think that's because I underestimated people coming together and supporting each other. The support and friendships that have come from owning a business, sorry that I was speaking away from that, in Phoenix has been unreal, from customers to neighbors. I know I can call Henry from Leave Your Mark, Alex from Biologic Crop Solutions, Aaron from Auto Works, Jim from Pete's Transmission, Bill and Eli from Aero Mixer, and that's just to name a few that that's within a stone's throw. And that's, if I could just do something as simple as, you know, help moving a fridge in, borrowing a forklift, whatever. We've always been there for each other, and that's been really amazing. So to me, community is the biggest success in partnership and how we support each other in our businesses.
Yeah, I'll kind of piggyback off of that. I've seen the same thing, and it's evident, like, when we had our grand opening, we had a huge turnout. I thought when Puck's Donuts reopened, they had a huge turnout. And just kind of, again, everybody pulling together. I think part of the I guess, struggle is, for me, is it does feel like, it's been, what, 2.5 years, over 2.5 years. In some ways, I think we've come a long way. In some ways, it seems like we could be further along. And I think, especially in going through the process of us getting our branch rebuilt and the stuff that we had to go through with that, with the trades and construction and things like that, there's just such a need, and a lot of those trades are very busy right now. And so we had trouble. We had time frames that we had to push back because we just couldn't get people in there in time to get things completed. So, but again, that's just kind of the nature of the beast when you have so much building going on. But I do think just the community kind of coming together and rallying around and supporting these businesses as they start to reopen and come back is huge. It's been huge for us, I in turn, same thing, try to go support them. For when we had our grand opening, we spotlighted Leave Your Mark in our branch. DNS Harley had a bike in our branch. We got Puck's Donuts. I mean, any time we have an opportunity to do something like that, the first thing I always look for is how can we support something that's here in Phoenix and that's local, because not even just necessarily a customer of the bank, but just a partner within the community and kind of the rebuild.
So our office was not lost, but we obviously had a very substantial number of clients that lost their homes, mostly manufactured properties. So, and a lot of those were in the 55 and up communities. So those people needed obviously a lot of help with their claims, and it was a very busy and hard time for us. We actually sent our kids away for a whole week so that we could just be available a lot more during that time period. It's obviously fantastic to see things rebuilding, although of course it's a very, still a slow process. There's obviously still a lot coming back. But a lot of those people have left the area, especially in the 55 and up group, because there is not housing available at that same price point anymore, obviously, in this area. So that's a big challenge that I see, is that a lot of the people who will be living in Phoenix now are not going to be some of those people who lost their homes before. A lot of them have already moved off near other family or just completely out of the area because they can't buy anything in that same range anymore. It has definitely been a difficult time for us. Some of the businesses, obviously, that didn't lose their locations, obviously didn't have access to a lot of aid or anything like that, since they didn't physically lose anything. But obviously their businesses were still significantly impacted with less clients, or just losing. There's just a lot of loss during that time. Obviously things are coming back, and we're very happy to be a part of that and still be here to help everyone.
I opened my business before the fire was 2 years. And it was always the whole you opening or what, where. It was Phoenix was very much of a drive-through town in 2018. It had just done the road diet, so it was in the building. It was starting to expand, and then it got taken out, and then so ever since that, it's been kind of a work in progress of rebuilding and building forward. 2020 mixes the fire, but also with the pandemic circumstances, that it was a world event that completely shifted our society. And ever since then, there's been a huge cultural, economical, international repercussion that has led to what is now seen as insane greed, inflation. You can see my homeland being on the 4th week of strike, on the edge of their second revolution, because there's a shift, which is nice because there's a lot of people that are moving to the area, and that are comfortable enough to, you know, spoil themselves or get a piece of cheese, get a nice landscape, which is very welcoming. I think it adds to the diversity of the town, economical diversity. But at the same time, there's a lot of people, a lot of locals who don't live here anymore or can't afford to shop locally. And so that is a major challenge, that addressing what the locals can afford and do. It leads to a lot of depression and stress, so people don't take the time to stop by their neighbors' shops and businesses. I know it's hard for me as well. So I would love to see more answers as far as that, for the cost of living being more affordable overall. But those are like small but also very big questions. So those are one of the main challenges of, you know, helping people understand and want to shop locally and more often, and doing, like, I'm thinking doing a price comparison, get a piece of cheese and bread, like from, like, again, one from Trader Joe's and Fred Meyer's, and, you know, a shopping cart, and be like, hey, look, I'm cheaper. And trying to promote that, because it feels to me that Ashland is reinventing itself, but it has a really high price tag. Medford is continuing in the big box kind of entertainment and food and things. And Talent and Phoenix are in the middle for the people. All the businesses that are developing here are all independently, locally owned by us, your neighbors. So trying to promote more of that, like, you know, just look, just don't assume that the price tag is higher just because we're smaller. That's mostly the big challenge.
Rebuilding after a natural disaster is a big enough challenge on its own. Throw in the pandemic-induced global supply issues, rising costs, and a shortage of labor. It's amazing we actually have made it this far and have gotten so much developed and cleaned up. So it has been extremely challenging, but moving forward, it helps to look at the silver lining. For my business, we lost all of our buildings and all of our equipment and hundreds of pallets of products. But we have a chance to reorganize our footprint, change how the complex is designed, and to be able to better serve the community in the future. So it has been really challenging, but I am very proud of this community for getting so far, and with all the other challenges that have arisen because of the pandemic.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that. I'll add that there is somebody in the room here who was on the team when we went to Paradise. 6 Southern Oregon Recovery professionals and support people went to Paradise, California about 1.5 years ago. I might be getting my dates wrong, but there are certain things and certain aspects of recovery and facets of recovery, according to which the Almeda Fire footprint and South Urban Chain footprint areas are way ahead of other canyons on the West Coast that have burned over the last few years, and the pace of recovery here, by some metrics, is astonishing, and yet some things in some programs are still being screwed up, as one of you mentioned, 2.5 years later. So thank you for sharing that. That's the impression the long-term recovery partners also have as well. You didn't ask, but I decided to share that anyway. On to the next question, and that's informed by the form that those of you who registered online filled out. You mentioned urban renewal, you mentioned other exciting things happening here in Talent. So to business owners on the panel, the question is, here in Phoenix, we're seeing that focus on urban renewal, on greenway stewardship, other vitality projects. What is the best way for the community to engage you? What is the best way the community can involve you in something cool that's going on? Just how?
Word of mouth is really beneficial, and a Google review for a small business is gold. So the more you can get out and tell your friends and family how great this business, what a good job they did for you, that really helps small businesses.
Stopping by and buying a piece of cheese. I mean, anything helps. I got a bigger shop, and I'm seeing a lot of food businesses that are either expanding or shrinking or going away, unfortunately. That's why we have such a huge food truck scene. It's more affordable that way to have a restaurant. But it's stopping by on semi-regular basis would be great. Just a piece of cheese, you know, like for anyone, and then leaving a review on whatever your preferred internet media is, word of mouth, the social media, the algorithm does prefer personal posts than business posts, especially if you don't sponsor the post. One thing that was huge last year was the episode of All Across Oregon on PBS. That was awesome for the three of us on Phoenix that were featured. It's a program on Oregon PBS that is produced locally, but it also has been picked up nationally. So PBS US will be showing the episodes of All Across Oregon from now on. So that's going to be quite nice for Oregon, especially Southern Oregon, because it's mostly what the business is. So that was very awesome of Vinny Stratoria to include some of the business for that. So yes, no, it's reaching out to stopping by, telling your friend, getting a gift certificate for someone else, just being physically present, and don't take too much assumptions. But there's a lot of people who are like, oh, Melody's doing fine. I mean, she's, you know, everybody's talking about it. I'm like, yeah, but not enough people are stopping by. So that would be cool. So yeah, no, being present, like physically present would be fantastic.
Cheese is like vitamin C. You need it every day.
Yes, my comment was just to vote with your dollar, to go out of your way to support local businesses. And occasionally there are events that happen in Phoenix, like there's going to be one on Earth Day down at the Phoenix Industrial Studios. So like we're supporting some of the children's activities that they're doing that day. So just getting out and being present, and like I said, going out of your way to actually use a local business is the very best thing you can do.
My situation is obviously a little different. I work for a large company, but as far as like engaging Uncle Bank in some of these things like the Greenway stewardship and things, the biggest thing to me is just people coming in and asking and bringing things up to me. Perfect example is I was approached by Sandy Wine with regard to the Blue Heron Park rebuild. I didn't know about the project. I didn't really know what was going on with it. She came to me with an ask, you know, is there anything you guys can do to help? So I said, sure, let me look into it. Initially I thought we could do some sort of small contribution. We ended up being able to contribute $5,000 to that. The bank is big on community involvement. And in particular, we've really been big on wildfire recovery involvement too. You know, the biggest thing is I only, sometimes, you know, all of us probably keep our heads down in our own lane of working and, you know, trying to grow our own businesses and things like that, where we're maybe not aware of some of these things that are going on in the community. And so biggest thing is if there's anything, come see me, let me know about it, send me an email, something, and I'll always see what we can do to help.
As a lot of people touched on, Google reviews, word of mouth has definitely been key for our business, and that can just continuing that. I think, you know, infrastructure of being able to people walking from Clyde's Corner, Phoenix Industrial Studios, other businesses around to other businesses will be opening, Foodery, and being able to stop by Cheese Cave and all these other places in between will really be key in success for all the small businesses in Phoenix. So I think that's part where I know it is a focus, but just having better sidewalks, you know, lighting for people to be able to walk on and be able then to go from, you know, Leave Your Mark to Clyde's Corner to the Cheese Cave to the Foodery and kind of walking throughout one that brings so much to all of our businesses.
Thank you. We're going to go off script for one question here. Economic development means supporting existing businesses, and it often means also supporting businesses that are trying to relocate to an area or are considering an area to set up a facility there, hopefully employing folks. What do you, as a business owner and representative in Phoenix, wish businesses outside of the area knew about Phoenix? In other words, when Marta and Terrell was already talk to folks who are considering Phoenix. What do you wish we told others to get them to take a chance on Phoenix?
I think the support of the community, because honestly we don't necessarily have a ton of restaurants. There's not a lot of other. I mean, there's wineries, there's a lot of things, but nothing that's really that close walking distance. So I think just the support and being part of a community that has so much potential, is already growing so much in the recovery of the fire. It's really exciting to be a part of it. I think that's a draw, is to be a part of something that is developing and growing so quickly, and to me in a lot of really neat ways.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is just the growth potential for Phoenix. There's a lot of, obviously a lot of building projects and things going on currently, but the growth that's going to be happening along North Phoenix Road over the next number of years. They're going to build ultimately 1,500 housing units around Centennial Golf Course. Really those are, I would say even closer to Phoenix than they are to a lot of things in Medford, and I think that's going to be a big draw for the city. And it'll give the city a chance to kind of, set itself apart a little bit, because there's going to be a huge influx, I think, of new consumers to the area. And so I think that there's a huge growth potential in Phoenix. And it's just, again, getting that word out and changing the philosophy of Phoenix being a drive-through town, that you drive through to get to Medford or get to Ashland, and actually something that people are going to stop at and we're going to check out.
For us, Phoenix being centrally located between Ashland and Medford means that we can very easily service clients from both spaces. So just physically speaking, it's a very good place to place your location. Also, in some cases, the rent can be more affordable, so it can be a great draw to be able to service clients.
Yes, kind of all of that, physically perfectly centrally located between Ashland and Central Point and Jacksonville, right off the pipe, just 21 miles north of the California border. But we are, all of our businesses in Phoenix are owned by independent locals, comparatively to the other towns. We have a lot of what I call micro businesses, not so small businesses, micro businesses. And we have quite a bit of them, and then we're getting more of them. So that makes things kind of super hyper local and also kind of affordable. There's a lot of the workforce that also lives here. The working middle class as well is building. Our school district is growing quite well, yep, and doing quite well. So that's also going to be a nice attraction for families who want to move here.
Being centrally located in Phoenix here in the Valley is one of the main reasons I'm actually located in Phoenix. There's contractors who don't want to drive all the way out to Table Rock to get gravel. They can just stop here, grab some Clydes on the way back to the job site, and it's very convenient. Not only is we're centrally located between Ashland and Medford, but from Wairika to Grants Pass. And so we are able to capture business from quite a range. And it is very convenient for my customers who are in Ashland. They don't have to drive all the way out to such a point.
So a lot of your answers today have touched on, the corridor, the legacy of having been a drive-through sort of a town. So let's look at where Phoenix fits in the Road Valley economy of the future. You kind of started talking about it, but tell me your vision. Just what do you see the role of Phoenix in the economy going forward? Do you want it to keep being like the workforce residential community for the entire valley, or do you want it to be a blend? Where do you see Phoenix economically in 10 years?
We're already a very diverse place. We share interests from Medford, we share interests from Ashland. So it's a diverse place. There is lots of buildable land, and housing is, I would say, the biggest priority for us is to get some affordable housing and be able to house the workforce.
Yeah, it's continuing on the same path of being focused for the locals. I mean, it's always nice to get a little tourist here and there, but this is not what our valley is anymore. The whole Shakespeare Festival for 9 months out of the year. We have some really lovely wineries. So there's some beautiful kind of tourism to happen, but more really targeting the local people that can just drive over, have a little meal here. Getting a Blackbird, which is locally owned, has an Ace Hardware, take that, Home Depot, whatever. And, just being able to shop locally, like whenever I need something from the Arts and Crafts, I'm gonna go to Scrappy Craft, it's right there across the street. Just trying to think more and target more like working with talent, which is also a lot in the same vision of being for the people and by the people. Oh, sounding so American right now.
I would just say that as Phoenix is still being rebuilt, I mean, we've got some great visuals of things that have happened or will be happening in Phoenix, but there's a chance to kind of do things differently and better, and I think that people are taking advantage of that, and it will definitely show in the next years to come in Phoenix.
I think Phoenix has the opportunity to be kind of the best of both worlds, so a possibly slightly less expensive place to live than maybe Ashland or Medford, but then still have things that are a draw to keep people here. So when people are, they may work in Medford and come home to Phoenix, and on the weekends there's enough things here locally that you keep those dollars here locally, and enough to attract people from other areas. I think the part of what my excitement was when we were talking about rebuilding our branch and everything like that is there is going to be really nothing but growth in Phoenix over the next, say, 5 to 10 years, just with all of the housing that's going to be coming back in and be building back. And so when we open as a bank, obviously our goal is always growing the business. And with all that opportunity that's going to be happening here and then in surrounding areas, like I said, out on North Phoenix Road and some of those projects, I think Phoenix really has the opportunity to be kind of a hub where people will live here because they don't want to again possibly can't afford or maybe don't want to live in Ashland or Medford, so this gives them an alternative to that. But then as we bring in things like, some of the things that Courtney had mentioned, the foodery and some of these things that are going to be coming along, that's the kind of thing if someone just happens to be driving through and they see something like that for the first time, they're probably going to stop because they before it was just an empty field, and now, there's this place where I can go get food and maybe get a cold beer or something like that. So that's the kind of stuff we need, and I think Phoenix is poised to really kind of take some big steps forward in the next 5 to 10 years.
I hope and dream of kind of a vibrant downtown Phoenix in 5-10 years, and I think it's because of the small businesses like the cheese shop and other ones that are local small businesses, community oriented. I think it's pretty neat being in a spot that is centrally located. We have regulars from Jacksonville, from the Green Springs, from Central Point, from Ashland, from Medford, from Talent, Phoenix, obviously. But I know a lot of people in Ashland that won't go eat out in Medford, people in Medford that won't go eat in Ashland. So we have a really unique situation that we are in the center, and it's kind of a little Switzerland, come spend your money with us and hang out. I think to be vibrant, though, we need a lot of infrastructure in place. Again, going back to the sidewalks, the greenway is an absolutely amazing asset. I think that pulling more people, coming to Phoenix from the greenway could be really amazing. We've actually had multiple customers bring up to us pickleball courts. And I think that that's something that would create a lot of traffic from, again, Medford, Ashland, Talent, people coming off the greenway from bikes and walking, coming, playing a sport, hanging out. It's, again, kind of community-based, but then going and spending their money in town at the Foodery, at Clyde's, hopefully at the Cheesecake, other places. Let's go check out landscaping over Leaf and Mark, everything then where people are coming you know, kind of starting their day with one thing and then walking from business to business. With that, obviously, parking is a whole nother issue. So there's so much stuff that goes into that, but I think and believe that in 5 to 10 years that Phoenix will be a really vibrant downtown that will pull in people from all over Southern Oregon, and in which case will also bring in, you know, tourism just from word of mouth of where people are in Ashland if they're visiting friends, or, you know, Central Point or Medford, that it becomes a little destination to bring, you know, visiting friends and family to.